Hey, welcome back to the Real Estate Excellence Podcast, a show that highlights the stories, the strategies, and the grit of the top performing agents in Northeast Florida and beyond. In today's episode, we're driving into the mindset and momentum behind one of Jacksonville's top real estate professionals, a true example of what's possible when hustle meets authenticity. Since launching her real estate career in 2020, she's risen to the top 1% of real estate agents in Jacksonville, earned recognition from the JAX Real Producers, and recently ranked number 72 on the Jacksonville Business Journal's top 100 agents list. She's built her business on honesty, hard work, and commitment to delivering real results, no fluff, just execution. Whether juggling the demands of motherhood, negotiating deals for her clients, she brings relentless energy and a competitive edge to everything she does. Let's welcome Edwina Burch to the show. Appreciate you coming in this morning.
Absolutely.
I'm really curious, just from in our pre-show, really got me just talking about a few things. That's why I said, so hold on, let's hold it for the show.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of good information in there, because I think there's a lot of agents that started around the same time you did, but haven't quite blossomed to where you're at today, doing over 16 million last year in 2024. I didn't see what you've done so far. Has this year started off good? Are we having a good first half of the year?
It's an okay first half of the year. It's not how you start, it's how you finish, though.
It's not the 5 that started, it's the 5 that finished.
That's
I tell you. But Edwina, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself, but start off where did you grow up? And tell us, at 18, 19, Edwina, what did she envision herself doing as a career?
So at 13 and 14, I wanted to become an attorney.
Okay.
I wanted to become an attorney. That was my lifelong dream. I went to college. I got a bachelor's in political science and economics, and I thought that I was going to be an attorney. But my ex-husband, who was now my best friend, at the time, he was into football. He was headed into the draft,
Mm-hmm.
and he ended up getting hurt at his pro day.
Oh, no.
So I forewent law school to follow my college sweetheart into this world. And so it didn't end up with me being an attorney, which, listen, let me tell you, this real estate that was my calling. That should have been my goal at the age of 13, 14. Right. But we moved here to Jacksonville. We've been here for about 10 years. And I got into the school system, believe it or not. I wasn't a teacher. I was an admin, and I was an FTE coordinator and an enrollment specialist. And so my job was to basically enroll the students and report those numbers to the state, so that the state funded the charter school. It was a charter school.
Right.
The state funded the school. And yeah, totally out the spectrum.
So how long did you do that? Because I can't tell you could be 25, but you could be 35 too. You have really great skin. So
I'm over that. I'm over 35.
You're wow. Okay,
I am.
I would not have guessed that.
Yeah, I did that for, I want to say, 6 years. Mm-hmm. I've been in Jacksonville 6, 7. So 7 years. Around 7 years I've done that. I did that, actually. I just quit 2 years ago. And I literally had to beg my principal to leave because he was not taking my resignation.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. So you actually were, in 2020, you were kind of doing a little bit of both, mm-hmm. real estate and working at the school.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
So at what point does it get to the what you could be doing in real estate started to outweigh what you were making at the school?
Yes, it did. So initially I started real estate because one of my teachers was a realtor, and she came into my office and she was telling me about a student and trying to work a deal at the same time, and I couldn't keep her attention. And so she was just telling me how hard it was, and she went through like the ebbs and flows of what she was going through at the time. And I was like, I watch HGTV. I love helping people. I should be a realtor. I can make my own schedule. I get freedom. I'm on my own time. And I get the ability to help people. Now, helping people has always been my passion, mm-hmm. since forever. And so I asked her about getting into real estate, and she gave me a link to a Groupon course. And I'm like, you have to be kidding me. I'm going to get my real estate license on Groupon. So I thought she was like just doing it just to like, here, this is, and I took the course.
All right.
And then, yeah, here we are.
Did you besides that interaction in the office that day, did you get a chance really to sit down and dig into what she was doing, or just kind of just an epiphany came to you, said, let me go take this course?
I heard her complaints about it, and I am a solution finder. So as I'm sometimes in like when teachers would come into my office in that current profession, I would listen to their complaints and I would always find a solution. So I'm listening to her complain about a transaction that's going on, and in my mind I'm like, you should do this and you should do that and you can do this, and I'm not even in real estate at the time. It's just standard level,
common sense.
Correct. Yeah. And so I'm like, I could possibly just do that as something. At the time, I considered it a side hustle. Boy, did I know.
Yeah.
It's no side hustle in real estate. So, yeah.
Interesting. So, did you go to the brokerage she worked with?
No.
Okay. Tell me about how you took the test.
Yes.
Were you already investigating what brokerage to go with, or how did you kind of evaluate where to go first?
So once I signed up for the test, brokerages started reaching out to me, and I started interviewing different brokerages to figure out which one would I best be, And, Keller Williams is a household name, and I was looking up different trainings on real estate, and Keller Williams kept coming up as having one of the best training platforms for new agents.
Yeah.
And so at the time, I said, you know what, I'm going to go with Keller. But then my husband at the time was like, hey, let me connect you with it was Ernie Sims' football buddy, Red Zone Realty. So I signed up at Red Zone, and as a new agent, I was so lost. I'm like, okay, where are the deals? What's going on? I signed in. I never went into the office outside of that. And I just kind of sat on my license and went about life, not doing. And then another teacher was in my office, and I was telling her that I had just got licensed. And she goes, "Oh, my husband owns a brokerage," and I'm like, "Oh, I can join him." So then I went to a boutique brokerage, which was absolutely phenomenal. That's where I got my first real estate transaction, and I did have a lot of conversation with him about what to do and how to do it, because as new agents, we're like, okay, let's go at it. And I think when I got licensed, I didn't follow realtors on social media. And so I didn't understand the glitz and the glam and all of those things, but I did watch HGTV, and I thought that's what it was supposed to be like.
Did you really have a true visualization of that?
Yeah. So for me, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get the customers who want to purchase $500,000 house, and he's a pencil collector, and she's a butterfly catcher, and we're going to make the deal work. Yeah. We're going to look at 3 houses, and they're going to pick one. And it wasn't until I became licensed and I started seeing, because even then, I didn't know a lot of people in Jacksonville. Just my small circle of school teachers, and we just didn't know a lot of people. And so I started creating this real estate journey in my head of what I envisioned it to be, and it was never that. Mm-hmm. So, but it was beautiful. But to answer your question, I got into real estate, and when I got my first transaction and I announced it on social media with the picture, oh my gosh, everyone started saying, I didn't know you were in real estate. Oh my gosh, I want to work with you. My cousin's looking for a house. This person is looking for a house.
Yeah.
And when I made my salary in 1 month, that's when I attempted to quit. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The point I want to make is the agents that are out there, any newer agents or agents who may have made that first choice, they came in new, like you really didn't know what to actually, what the processes were or things to do to get business and so forth. Yeah. And I believe, and you've been in it long enough now to see that choice of first brokerage can make or break a lot of agents.
Yes.
And it's very important to get out there and interview and so forth. Some of them have had enough grit to kind of at least stay alive long enough to all of a sudden you found the track and you started running.
Right.
Yeah. But I think many agents fall out maybe in the first month, definitely we know in the first 2 years because they don't renew their license and so forth, and how important that is. It's great to go where your girlfriend or might be and you might have friends, but if they don't know how to nurture someone coming in that had the HGTV kind of envision, like this is going to be really easy. But tell us some of the first things since you mentioned the HGTV, when you realized it wasn't HGTV.
When my first buyer gave me 10 homes to look at. And I'm like, no, we're going to look at 3. We're only supposed to look at 3 homes, because in my mind. And I was so blessed because they were first-time home buyers. They didn't know what to expect, and I didn't know what to expect. So at that first transaction, we were learning together. But
Did they know it was your first transaction?
No, but on my 100th transaction, I told them.
Okay.
And so it's on my social media. I say, hey guys, remember that first transaction? And they were like, yeah. I'm like, you were my first client. And they're like, what? We didn't even know. Yeah. I'm like, and you guys are going to be my 100th transaction. So she ended up getting pregnant, and now we're looking now. So it's
for bigger home.
Yeah. Full circle moment. So it was definitely, I didn't expect it to go like this. I didn't expect the hurdles and the things that I encountered. I expected it to go smooth. Mm-hmm. So when I did the inspection report and the things are coming back, I'm like, this is supposed to be perfect. What? So I have to ask for these things to be fixed. So it's definitely a learning experience. I had a rookie mindset at the time. It was comical, and I'm blessed that I was working with people that were friends and that it was their first transaction as well, because had it not been, they probably would have fired me.
Yeah. What are some of the things that, coming in, you took the test, but everyone knows, the test is just so you don't get in trouble. It's giving you it's giving you the rule book, basically. But really what you learned at in this case, the second brokerage that you went to, he started to teach you some of the processes, some of the things that you need to be doing. Mm-hmm. What tell us some of those first things where you were like, oh my God, I didn't even know this is either possible in real estate, or just all of a sudden your mind just started to expand and start to see things on a larger.
Well, he introduced me to the MLS and the things that I could do with that. And also the client relationships, which I already cultivated naturally. That was just a natural gift of mine. But having systems in place and having things in order so that you can run your business. But when he talked to me, it was in one ear, kind of out the other, because it was so much. You
didn't have anything to stick it to yet.
Correct. And I'm like, what does that mean? And you have to have this, and you have to have that. And I'm like, what do you mean I need a CRM? What's a CRM? Why can't I use Excel? Why can't I use my sticky notes? These are more useful. They're color coded. Right. And so,
I can write everybody's name on one of those little things right now.
Right. Everybody's name. Right.
Every client I have.
I had one. I don't need this. And so it wasn't until probably my second year in real estate that all of those things resonated with me, and by then I had moved to Keller. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Keller is definitely, if any new agent, I could feel comfortable saying someone that say, I'm looking to get into real estate, what should I do? Yep. That button took off my do not disturb. For some reason, the camera wouldn't work without the do not disturb on there. But anyway, I could recommend Keller to anyone and feel comfortable about it. There's some others out there. I think Watson's made a cornerstone on taking you. There's a lot of great agents at Keller that started at Watson and so forth. That they're I think the term, they have resources because of their national ability to have a library of trainings and so forth, that whether they're virtual or whether in person, because they have a lot of experienced people, you could definitely recommend there. I think we're again go back to choosing that right brokerage. Some of these smaller boutique brokerages are really good when you know what you're doing. Right. They're good for that agent, as we were talking kind of pre-show, that agents, I'm at 7 to 10 million. Even if agents are doing 3 to 5 that are going along, they're giving them enough training to keep their business rolling. But the new agent, Keller or Watson, have that resources in place to do that. All right, so when do you really start to catch on? In what do you think gets you to that? You said you got to a point where in 1 month you made more than your yearly salary at the school. Correct. What were some of the things that either someone taught you or you caught on, maybe watching what others were doing? But what do you think was a real attributor to that getting you to that point?
It's 100% relationships. See, again, at this time, I wasn't following any realtors. And the only two that I knew were working at the school, and they weren't social media, like on social media like that. And so for me, it was cultivating relationships and not being afraid to tell people that I can help them. I love to talk. I can make friends with a bench. You put me on a bench, I'm going to know the history, when it was made, all that. So for me, it was allowing me to be in a situation where, like in a school, where I told everyone that I was in real estate somehow or another. And then from there, that's where the referrals came. But had I not been in a school, like if I was just starting out, I think it would have been much harder. But my foundation started out with selling teachers' homes, selling homes to teachers, and then providing them the best service that I knew how. And each transaction became easier, but it was different. And even now, I'm still learning.
Yeah. Every transaction is different. It doesn't matter whether you're at 1 or 1,000.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And so it's relationship building and smiling through it all and always finding a solution. I think when you come to anyone, no matter what career you're in, if you have a solution, if you're solution based, I think it'll get you far. And that was my foundation at the time.
Well, there is no doubt in it. If I could, think of many that you're 271 of the probably 255 agents that I've probably had on. Yeah. I've had some non-agents on, so that's it. But when it comes down, especially right now, different than 2020, where you put the sign in the yard and you had multiple offers, and the better to home, you might have had dozens of offers. Right, right now, there's a lot of strategery and negotiation, making offer, and I think the buyer broker agreement, coming online last August, being required, is part of the strategy. I think one of the questions, and it's evolved. Agents have evolved. Do I call the listing agent and ask what they're offering? And then the listing agents, a lot of them are just, we'll make the offer and we'll figure it out. So that's kind of evolved over the last year. But have you found, especially, in the last, 6, 8, 12 months, there's a lot of hair now on some of these. The seller has their requirements, or they want to preoccupy the property. There's all these different things that you're having to juggle and get the deal done right now, more so than in probably any time. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think that with sellers, during my seller appointments, I am no longer looking at comps that sold 6 months ago. I'm looking at the price improvement that happened 2 weeks ago. It's a different conversation. And even since the buyer broker agreement, I'm making them more aware and giving them my feedback for what it is to get your home sold. If we list it at this price, it will sit. You might want to list it at this price. It's going to sit, okay? But if we list it at this price, then we can sell it. And sometimes you have to let them know exactly what's happening in the market, because sellers don't know. And I think it's our job to provide them with data. My neighbor house sold 6 months ago for $800,000. Yeah, but 2 weeks ago, the one across the street had a $50,000 price improvement. That's what we're looking at. Yeah. Because we're in a different market. And with buyers, it's the same conversations, but in reverse. Like right now, we're in a buyer's market, which I love. Even though I am currently listing heavy right now,
right?
I love,
as many good agents are, right?
Yes.
I mean, all the top agents are going to tell you right now they got listings they're sitting on right now.
Yes, I have these listings and I'm having conversations, and I'm giving my sellers, these are our solutions, and this is right now the market is just what the market is. There is no crystal ball on when it will change, but as long as we are putting our best foot forward and doing what we can do, then our buyer will come.
Do you have any listings right now that are in subdivisions that have construction still going on, where new homes are being offered by builders?
No.
Okay. Have you had any of those recently in the last 12 months? Because that's where a lot of the houses are sitting. And I think the reason I bring that up is, talking about buyers is knowing what we know now, which is not any rockets. It's not like, that makes common sense. Yeah. Is because the market's dulled down and you got these buyers, you got to really dig into them. How long do you really expect to be here? Right. because they're going to be building in this community for the next 5 or 6 years. If you ain't going to be here for 5 or 6 years, this may not be the property for you.
Exactly.
Because that's one of the challenges right now is they're dropping prices. They're competing because they're competing with the builder.
Offering incentives and
which the builder is building into their price, which they're still getting the value on,
Right.
but they're paying a lot of money to get those incentives to move that house.
Right,
You know?
right.
Because I do believe a lot of the builders, their margins are very thin right now because they're just trying to keep their crews busy until things swing around.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
you know,
I agree. So the opposite. I have a new construction in a subdivision. It's going live probably end of this week. So I'm excited about that one to see how that one's going to sell. But I haven't had any. I've heard stories though, because you're competing against the new construction and those listings are sitting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's a different conversation when you're going out to the seller at that point.
Yeah.
Are you willing to drop price or give the incentive or somewhat similar incentive because your house is ready to move in? They don't have to wait 3, 4, 5 months, 6 months, or who knows, even a year sometimes.
Right.
I want to do this little ad read here if I can.
Perfect.
Attention agents and brokers, are you ready to lead, not follow? Deli is the first AI-powered home search tool that's changing real estate forever. Founded by Lyman Starmer, Deli turns your website into a natural language search engine, making home searches faster and easier and smarter than anything Zillow offers. Sites using Deli are seeing massive jumps in engagement and longer buyer sessions because clients finally get the experience they expect. This isn't a trend. AI is the future of real estate search. Be the first. Be different. Email Lyman at lyman@usedeli.com. Mention the Real Estate Excellence and get a great discount on your first year. Don't get left behind. Deli is where real estate is going. Get on board today. Deli is actually brings up my next subject for you. Are you using any? And this is throwing it out there for you because I don't know if are you using any AI in your business right now?
I've started.
Because you guys have been getting trainings like left and right on this stuff.
Absolutely. I've started, but I haven't integrated it fully yet. Yeah.
So the interesting thing is Lyman I had on the show a couple months ago, and he literally, people think that, I think the general public, when you mention AI, lumps everything into them. And with the AI home search versus your normal, I'm sure you can go on your website and do drop down. I want 3 bedrooms. I want, type of thing. It literally is natural language, like you and I are talking here, or you're talking to a buyer. Hey, where do you want to live? I want to live here. Do you have dogs? Yeah, I want a big backyard, blah, blah, blah. All these different things that you exchange. The AI, they're trying to train AI to do that. Well, people think, well, it's AI. It can do. No, it cannot do that because it doesn't know. It doesn't know the difference between what the ground floor is versus the basement, right? It might think the basement. Or you and I, if we're talking, I want to live near the beach. Near for you and near to me is 2 different things, right? These different things that go on, and one of the challenges, just to educate you guys that are listening, not everyone is really good at putting their details and so forth in the MLS. So it goes into the MLS. And there are people who have houses with pools that don't put that into the description. Like, you think that would be the first thing. It has a pool. That's a big amenity.
Right. Something good to have.
But it doesn't have that. So he's actually trained it, his thing, and it's constantly, it's got to ramp up. It's now evaluating the pictures. So anyone listening right now, take your pictures, because are you using it for the descriptions? Are you using, that's seems the common thing everyone's starting to use it.
Yes.
And AI looks for AI, so it's good that you're doing your descriptions in there. Actually have it evaluate the pictures and then say, create me a listing description, see what it says, and then go in and add what you want it to. Hey, well, you add this and add that, and then redo it and give me, because it'll actually, even ChatGPT, if you're paying the $20 a month, will evaluate the pictures, and you'd be amazed what it actually finds in the pictures and brings out and puts a little more color, a little more pizzazz to your listing description.
That's good to know.
Yeah. So, Lyman is working on usedeli.com, and it literally just goes on as a little widget on your screen. They can click on it or do it the old way, but they can actually start talking to it like they do ChatGPT or the other AI programs.
Interesting.
Yeah, and the listings will start popping up behind them as they the more they describe, it'll narrow down. So yeah, it's really kind of amazing. But AI is here. I really think they need to start teaching it in schools.
They need to. They have
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
They have to. I heard in other countries they are starting to integrate it into the curriculum. It's just something that we haven't done here, but we 100% need to, especially with times are changing.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I think the learning could pick up such a rapid pace because the kids can, I didn't have Google. I didn't even have email when I was in college. Okay, let alone but to be able to do a research project or just an essay or whatever and do some research on Google, you find fairly quickly. Now you take AI in there, and now it's helping you, do an outline what I want to, structure. I think it's going to force the schools to pick up the pace.
Correct.
And learn more.
Correct.
Faster,
right.
and the kids' minds will just be blown out because they'll be able to take in so much more knowledge at a faster rate.
I agree.
Yep. So that's my little preach on AI. But I will say this: there's a lot of people going around, and I won't say it's just in Jacksonville because I'm sure it's everywhere, that don't know squat about AI. They've either read a book, listened to a podcast, and they're going in and talking to people, but they're really only using AI like to do a listing description. Yeah. That really didn't take much for you to learn how to do that.
Oh, it's so much more.
But there's things. All my captions are AI because it puts in all the SEO that I want it knows, and then I upload the transcript from the show, and I say, hey, I had Edwina on, and here's a reel. She's talking about this. Find it in the transcript. Create me a IG caption for it, and then pull it all the SEO and your social media and all that. Boop, boop, and it creates it for it, and I cut and paste and stick it in there.
Wow!
So it just speeds up that much faster. But the thing I did learn from Lyman, which I think is important to everyone out there, and we were talking about LinkedIn before the show. AI is looking for AI. So we read the caption or something, a human could have done that, but the way it writes it knows its own language. So when it's out there searching, it's looking for other AI. So when you go in and do your LinkedIn, put all your bio information in there and say, give me a compelling, fascinating bio, and let it write your bio and then stick it in there.
Nice.
Yeah. So, but LinkedIn is, I think, one of the underutilized social media.
It is. It 100% is.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
That's the first place I start before a show is, do you have a LinkedIn profile? Because I want to learn about you. I want to, what's your background?
Right.
And I think if you're an agent and you're taking clients from outside the area, they're Googling you, or they're going to go to LinkedIn, which if you go to Google, your LinkedIn file will pop up.
On there,
yeah. And you need to take a few. It's not, I think some people say, oh yeah, I haven't updated it recently. It's like your resume. You update it every so often. And the beautiful thing is you started and you're still there. It just clicks the dates automatically for you. So it's not like there's anything you need to do. Right?
You're not creating an entirely new resume every time.
Yeah. You might update your bio once a year or something. If you won an award or something like that, you want to add that in there. Yeah. So definitely. Let's go back to your circle of influence.
Yes.
You were talking about the teachers and so forth, but you gestured in there about the social media, and you noticed right away when you posted your first sales, all of a sudden, kind of people out of the woodwork basically started saying, "Oh, I didn't know you people who you probably didn't even regularly transact with."
Right.
On a daily basis. Tell us how that started to grow and how did you feed that?
Yeah, so I always had a social media presence, really on Facebook, but I grew my Instagram slowly. And so when I posted my first sale, it was a boomerang, and it was just something that I came up with. I thought it would be cute because I like to dance. No rhythm, but I can dance. And I posted it, and all of a sudden, I even went back to that very first post, and it was so much acknowledgement and love. And then my DM started saying, oh, my cousin wants to buy a house, or I didn't know you sold real estate. Because when I first got my license, I'm going to say this. I did not tell everyone I was a licensed real estate. I just got my license. I would love to help you buy or sell a house. Because if I am looking for a house, I am not, and my little brother just got licensed, and I'm buying $1 million house, I'm not going to use Buddy. And so when that's why my buyers did not know that it was my first time. But I knew that I would, as long as I could find a solution, I would be okay to whatever was going on. if I find a solution, we're okay. So when I first posted that picture, no one knew that that was my first real estate deal. No one knew that that was my first transaction. Those were my first clients, and I had literally no experience at all. And that's how it started. And it wasn't until I think a year later that I said, "Oh, I was talking to someone, and they on social media live, and they were like, "How long have you been in real estate?" I'm like, "Oh, a year, just a year, you know." And so by then I had did like 10 or 12 transactions or something like that. So, yeah.
Have you found just being around other agents that are a little more senior, a little more experienced? You know, so if you were explaining this to someone new coming in, like you said, your brother got his license, to really lean in to some of those people, if you can find a mentor, someone who's willing to mentor you, could really accelerate your learning curve.
Absolutely.
And confidence curve, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think every new realtor needs a mentor, because they are going to propel you. You can go to all the trainings and mindset sessions that you want, but a mentor is really going to propel you to the next level. My first real estate mentor was Melissa Ricks, and how I found her was her boys played for our football team. We owned a football team, and her boys played for it, and she was at the thing telling me she was a realtor, and I think I reached out to her, and I was like, "Hey, I'm in real estate," and she was like, "Let's go to lunch." And that woman poured everything into me. And ever since then until now, and now I have Melissa Ricks, I have Kiana Watson. She's based out of Atlanta. And ever since then, you know, I would call her for certain situations and scenarios, because we don't know it all. And sometimes it may be harder to get in contact with the broker when you can just text your friend and say, "Hey, I want to run this across you."
Well, I mean, broker is a wide open word in real estate to begin, because there's some brokers who don't produce anymore.
Yes, correct.
In my opinion, I could probably look and you start evaluating brokers, and you know, brokers that have people leaving them is because they stop producing and they stop staying out in front. Now, I do know some brokers that don't produce, but they work very hard to be pouring knowledge into their agents, to be there as a resource, because they're listening. These transactions are going on with other agents, and you know, as we were talking before, it's a lot of the deals right now have a lot of little extra things, and negotiating doing negotiating repairs and so forth. And since it is a buyer's, you know, leaning more towards the buyer's market than sellers, you know, you have to have a feel for that,
right?
You know, Melissa's amazing. I love. She was her original episode was 30 something, I think. And then I had her team at the time on for episode 50. But I really, to me, when agents talk about growing, I like her model.
Yes.
I'm not a big fan into the first, bring another real estate agent on in the mix. To me, unless that other real estate agent's running as fast as you are and you want to team up because you both can run together, great. But a lot of times you always hire the one that's new and it's just going to drag you down.
Absolutely.
Not in a, it is a bad way, because it takes away your time, right? They want to be trained. They want to be there when they should really just sit and watch you work. But anyway, Melissa Ricks for sure, and I want to get her back on. She says she wants to come back on, but she wasn't ready. That was like, I don't know, 6 months ago. I haven't heard from her.
She's ready now.
Yeah. To update me on. Well, that's one of the things I want to do is start circling back in some of the earlier shows and get updates, because now it's been 4 years since the start of the show. So, I wrote a couple of things down.
Okay.
I wrote team down, but we talked a little about pre-show, and I said, well, hold this on to the show. At what point did you feel, or I think you said you were actually recommended to do it. Yeah. How early along did you hire that transaction? Where were you at in a volume space that you're like, someone said, yeah, hire the TC, or you started looking for one?
Right. It was in 2020. And I was maybe...
You're still working at the school.
I'm still working at the school. No, maybe it was 2021. I think it was 2021. It was 2021, I want to say, or end of 2020. And I was close to 20 transactions, and I was talking to Melissa, and I was just, because trying to do all the things with the transaction. And Melissa said, "You really need a transaction coordinator." And I'm like, "No, I can do this by myself. This is my baby. This is mine. I'm going to do it."
Right.
And I realized at that time and she says, "Listen, if you don't listen to anything else I say, get you a transaction coordinator." And so I got my transaction coordinator, Jen. Oh my gosh, game changer. I'm like, "What do you mean I don't have to upload this paperwork? What do you mean I don't have to send this email? What do you mean?" And so that was at the moment that not having to do all of that tedious stuff gave me more time to be boots on the ground, talking to more clients. So that was the best decision.
So there was this, I call it pay for play, but you basically were paying her by transaction. It's not like you hired her on a salary or anything like that.
Correct.
If you didn't have a deal, she didn't make any money.
Correct.
Obviously, those are doing it or working with many other agents.
Yes.
So they can earn a living.
Yeah.
Because really, when I've heard the few $100s that it is, I'm like, that's a no-brainer.
Right.
Right. It makes so much. But making that leap is the biggest challenge for agents.
Yes.
They really, that leap of faith. Now, I have someone else I may want to recommend have a conversation. If Melissa convinced you of that, because I really just totally love her model.
Yes.
That's the way she works. She made the leap and is now, she's way out in front.
Yeah.
She's running fast.
She delegated everything to everybody. She had an entire team, but wasn't considered a team, a support staff.
Yes.
She created an entire support staff around her so that she could be boots on the ground and never touch the listing.
That's a higher level thinking, higher level aptitude, because obviously if you think about, the great people, CEOs of companies, they have to rely on other people to do. They're thinking of a lot of it, but they are putting people in positions to handle things that they're hiring for, and whether they're communicating directly on exactly what to do, those people are executing on their behalf. Right. And that's, I think one of the other challenges I've heard is finding the right transaction coordinator, because people say, "Oh, I had this transaction coordinator and they were terrible or didn't work out." How important is it when you sit down with your transaction coordinator because you do business differently than Melissa does.
Yes.
And every other agent out there.
Yes.
And I think that's one realization you have to come to. It's one realization I've come to in interviewing all of you. All of you do business differently. Right. So how you interact or how you use that transaction coordinator is a conversation that you need to get deep into with that coordinator.
Yes, absolutely. And when I first hired her on, I was interviewing different agents, transaction coordinator, I'm sorry. And I wanted my business ran a certain way. I wanted different touch points because in this business, I always believe in communication, and I needed her to be the intermediary touch point if I wasn't able to. So we sat down and I went over exactly what I was looking for. Outside of the paperwork, she does more than just the actual transaction, and we were a good fit. And she's been with me ever since. Yeah.
It works in the loan world as well. If you've got a good processor or assistant, it's the same thing. You have to empower them. My rule on the mortgage side is when that loan goes over, the processor's really in charge.
Yeah.
They're the ones who's putting all the paperwork together, handing it over to the underwriter, and getting it approved. That's their job. It's like, correcting your grammar. They're going there, cleaning everything up and making it do. So I empower them like, you are in charge. Yeah. I'm now working for you. You call me when you need me, and I will go do what you need me to do. Otherwise, you're in charge. Call the client. Because they really can make you look good.
Yes. Oh, she does.
Yeah.
She does a great job at that.
What do you think are some of the just for someone's out there who maybe has had a challenge making this leap of faith, number one. Number two, that obviously they've heard horror stories, and maybe they did have a bad situation there. But some of the things where the transaction coordinator really makes you stand out as a professional.
Yes, I think making sure that they're in alignment with what you want your business to be. Also checking their references. What other agents are you currently looking for? And then looking up those agents and seeing what type of agents they are. Or maybe even picking up the phone and calling one and saying, "Hey, I'm interviewing your transaction coordinator right now. Can you tell me a little bit about, how it is? Getting a referral. But most importantly, giving her guidelines to follow, because she really makes me look like a hero.
Yeah.
And it's after, the closing, the small touches, the checking in on the client, and those expectations that are early on set can help you really, really come together with your transaction coordinator and, everyone else that, the clients that you're dealing with. So it's really setting expectations for your not just taking if you were running a business, and because real estate is a business, it is not a job. And if you're running a business, you're going to interview everyone involved in that business, and you're going to get references, especially if that employee is going to directly impact you. So I would treat the transaction coordinator.
And there's enough senior transaction coordinators out there that may have more experience than you have in real estate.
She does.
And that can help you. Yeah. So when you have some of these, situations come up, whether it's negotiating, repairs or whatever, this transaction coordinator is working with probably 10 other agents.
Yeah.
And probably have 20, 30 deals in their current bucket that they're working in, are involved in every one of those negotiations.
Right.
What's going on at other places, and bring that and help you look better in that area.
Oh yeah, she saved the deal a couple of times, especially with VA. It was a well situation, and she goes, we're nearing the inspection period, and she goes, hey, I'm going to send an extension for this inspection period because I noticed we don't have a well test scheduled. We need to get a well test. I would have never.
Right. Yeah. And you could have gotten in trouble for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And extended it, and it was just she's come through a couple of times.
Yeah.
And have just saved the deal. Yeah.
There. Well, I always saw there's. I turn it over. That's why I say I turn it over to processors, because when I first started, I've been 20 years in mortgages. My first 8.5, actually my first 12 years was in a call center environment. So we're doing a lot of volume. So I always like to brag. I've seen a lot more credit reports than the average guy out on the street, because that's all you're doing is you're on the phone all day. These leads are coming in, and they want you, pulling any, they'd love to pull 3 to 5 credit reports a day.
Yeah.
A lot of guys are lucky right now to pull 3 or 5 credit reports a month when they're out there, because how thin things are right now. But when you're seeing all those type of situations, the same thing goes on with the mortgage processor that goes on with that transaction coordinator. They're working with all these other loan officers or other real estate agents, and they're seeing these transactions go on, and how a VA loan is. I get questions all the time, from the VAs over. For some reason, there's still people out there that fear the VA. I'm like, dude, the VA. If you got a VA client, you got a home run. Them, especially if they're might be a little squirrely, that's likely to get approved versus someone who's not a veteran if they've got some credit challenges or whatever going on. But these little things that you need to know. Dealing with manufactured homes. Oh, I love it when I got an agent on the other end that does them regularly, because they know that needs the engineer report and all this other stuff, and they're already taking care of it. Right. And it's when you pull that, you just the transaction coordinator with experience, you just expand your abilities.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep, I agree.
Yeah. So, all right. So the transaction coordinator opened you up for some little bit more time. What did you do to effectively take advantage of that? Because you took advantage somehow of it, because your numbers show.
Right.
Have you ever looked back and say, hey, you know what, that she gave me this many more hours in a day, or I'm not stressed by going back and getting that contract written up, I'll just review it later, I can spend more time over here. What were some of the things where you're spending more time over there that started to produce more?
I just started focusing on more income producing activities. I went batshit crazy. I went back crazy when she took on after our first month, and because when my schedule was, I would wake up at 5:30 in the morning, I would go to the gym, I would get the kids ready for school, I would take them to school, and then I was working at the same school that they were at. On my lunch break, I was showing homes, and then I think school ended at 3. They played sports, so I had the little 2-hour window in between then to get sports. Sometimes my husband would go get dinner so I can cook it when I got home. And then I would show homes in between then. And then in the evening, I would upload all the documents, follow up on all the title work emails that I couldn't get to throughout the day. Well, then instead of working on all these documents, I just started doing more income producing activities, reaching out to clients, more, getting out to more places, putting myself out there. I'm never afraid to walk in any room that I've never been in and introduce myself.
Sometimes it's just peace of mind, isn't it? I mean, sometimes I imagine some of those evenings not that, have to go home and send out the emails and all that stuff. It's already been done. You were able just to have, take some time to yourself. And because I think when you read a lot of personal development books or biographies of some of these guys, or even just watching them on social media, hey, what is it you do? Why all these guys are in the meditation, right? They're all into I forget what the terms they use. They get up early in the morning and do that. But that's when your mind can actually start to bring in, hey, you know what? I haven't spoken to so and so in so long. I need to reach out here.
Right.
And I'm not spending enough time at this activity, or my kids are in sports. I need to. What can I do to let everybody, all the moms and dads on the team, know that I'm a real estate agent? That's the time when those things come up.
Right.
But if you're constantly running, you're
right. And you're more present in the moment. So instead of being at a football game with my laptop, working, I'm like talking to the next parent about real estate or about our kids, or just creating organic relationships. And I think that's where the success comes, is the organic relationships and the people that believe in you. They trust you. So I was able to do more of that.
Yeah, to say of Melissa Ricks, I know she basically became the mayor of Yulee football up there.
Yes. She did.
Not only having enough boys to do that,
right,
but she really involved herself with the school. And she's told me different things she's done, and everyone knows who she is. And because she obviously is probably, with between the oldest and the youngest, I don't know, a dozen years that she has spent involved in Yulee football.
Yep.
One of her kids are running on there one time or another.
Yep.
From that standpoint, but it gives you time, like you said, it gives you that peace of mind and to be present when you have that conversation with somebody, that you're actually absorbing what they're saying, and who knows, maybe you walk away, but that downtime allows you to process that.
Right.
Versus running to the next thing. All right, I had Chat GPT create some good questions for me.
Ooh, let's see.
I like this and this kind of might be a summarization of a lot of things you've said already, but you've been in the game since 2020 and already cracked the 1%. What do you think sets you apart from agents who've been in it much longer?
My personality. I think that people are drawn to my personality, and I have a can-do attitude, and you can't tell me no. People say I don't take no for an answer. No, I don't take no for an answer. You're going to give me a yes. It may not be right now, but you're going to give me a yes. But I think people are drawn to me because of my energy, my social media presence, and when they actually meet me in person, they're like, oh, this is really you. You're just like you are on social media. What you see is what you get. So for me, it's that, and it's pivoting. A lot of agents, every once in a while, I shouldn't say I've been in real estate for 30 years, and I understand you've been in real estate, but we pivot. And if you're still going by the Rolodex and the phone book, then you're not going to get ahead in business. You have to change with the times. You have to, in any industry that you're in. And so because I am so open to pivoting, I think that's what sets me apart. And when I pivot, I execute it. I don't just write it down. I execute everything that I'm going to do to get me to where I want to be.
Yeah. I like that, and that kind of analogy you gave there. And I think people do this at any time, but I think the thing is they like to drive things to their common denominator because it makes it easy to us. Okay, all these things happen. Well, this must be the reason. And if you do that too many times, you're going to put yourself in a rut, I think is really what you do. And someone who's been in the business 30 years, you've been through a lot of different markets, but if you're not in touch with the current market, because you're thinking this is like 2012.
Yeah, that's what I get.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
You got to be more in touch with what's going on.
Yeah. And
so a new agent who's very active in absorbing that in, like you are, is really leading the charge. Where the older agent, if they're thinking, this is like 2012, so I'm going to do this, and not really staying, with their thumb on the, or foot on the scale, whatever you want to call it, being in touch. I think they definitely can fall behind. Oh, you persistent, consistent. You authenticity. You brought those terms up. I want to throw another word out there. I like to talk about this one is when I write the book about the podcast, this is going to be the theme.
Okay.
And if you haven't read Grit by Angela Duckworth or listened to it, I would recommend if you're into listening to personal development book. But Angela goes in and studies why do some people have more grit than others? Why are more people willing to stick with itness, right, of anything they're doing? Yeah. So I call it the LLC. To me, in my life, I attribute my grit to love, laughter, and consistency, my LLC. So the first part, obviously, is easy and to understand my analogy there. Love. Why do you love real estate?
Oh, I am in love with real estate. Oh, my goodness. If I could, I love real estate more than Starbucks. And my listeners, you guys know about me and Starbucks. Being a part of someone's journey, being a part of a life-changing transaction, some of the biggest transaction of people's lives, and it's me. They chose me. It's 12,000 realtors out there, and they chose me. Right. Everyone knows a couple of realtors. And so just being able to hand someone keys or make a difference. And I know it sounds kind of cliche, I want to make a difference, but no. I am truly, truly fighting for my clients and making a difference. And that's where my love for real estate comes, because I feel like when you do make a true difference in someone's life, you fall in love with it. So I'm in love with real estate.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's in it that there's a common theme of many of the agents on that is it's the impactfulness. Obviously, when I think we all enjoy when someone thanks us for something. Yeah. Oh my God, I couldn't do it without you. That kind of thing. And most people are not. If they buy 3 to 5 houses in their life, that's a lot. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what the actual true average is, but obviously someone's in the military and they're moving around a lot. That's different. In corporate America, it's going to throw the scales off. But those are one-offs. Yeah. The average person, that living their life, I forget what the percentage of people have never moved more than 50 miles away from where they grew up. It's a huge percentage of Americans, so they're not buying a lot of houses because they didn't move more than 50 miles from where they grew up. And the fact that they chose it, and when they show their appreciation, especially ones who don't think they can do it, right? And you help them out, because I know on the loan side, say, oh my God, I couldn't, and I'm like, your loan was very easy. You make good money and you get good credit. You're a home run for me. Right. They when they show their appreciation, that's our high. Right. We get a high off of that for sure.
Right. Yeah. Right. Or when they cry, they're really. I dealt with a lot of first time home buyers, right? And they are truly, truly, like, they're happy. They're grateful. It's. I'm gonna cry.
Yeah. Yeah, they've now have something that's theirs. They have, everyone uses that term, the American dream, a lot of times, but they now have their they can say, this is my home. I own this home. Right. Yeah. Right. Thing, and that really means for those who grew up and got however, maybe there's a lot of people out there. Their parents have never owned their home ever. No, yeah. and so now they feel like they're moving up, and obviously your expansion in real estate, it's a big part of wealth creation. Right. Anyway, so we can underline that. All right, so that's the love. The laughter, I have to explain this one a little bit because not everyone fully understands my laughter part. Okay. And my laughter part comes from my great uncle who retired as a major in the U.S. Army, but he was a private on D-Day. Okay, and when I went to the military college of South Carolina, he told me, he said, when they're screaming at you and yelling at you, wiggle your toes because they can't see that, right? And you just kind of a humor thing internally. I believe real estate agents, at some time or another, have been fallen on their face or been punched in the gut, whatever you want to do. Some curveball came at you, you lost a deal, or maybe thought you were going to lose the deal, and you probably got on, whether if you didn't cry, you were on your knees praying, whatever.
Right.
Tell us about a situation where you had that. And today, you now look back at that situation and you laugh about it because you're like, remember that day I was crying about that?
Yeah.
I've done that 3 times now since then. You know, that's what I mean from the laughter. Tell us a situation that kind of demonstrate your grit that, you know, kind of sets you back and you're like, man, should I be a real estate agent? And then you fought through it and you persisted.
Okay, so I never second guessed myself on being a real estate agent because once I started, I knew there was nothing that could stop me. But there's been a few deals where I just sat on the phone. I remember calling my mom, and oh my goodness, why are you gonna make me relive this moment? I'm gonna laugh about it now.
Yes, all right, we can laugh about it now.
And everything was perfect. She was relocating. I got all the movers, and we're getting to like the last, I think, 10 days before we close. And I found out she owed some money to the IRS. Couldn't close without paying that money. And she didn't have the money, but she had to move. And it wasn't an astronomical amount of money that she just didn't have. And I'm like, how do you not know? How does this not disclose? And I mean, so which meant there were a lot of moving pieces to her moving here, including her daughter who was didn't have very much long to live, right? So it didn't happen in that way. We found another way for her to rent for a little bit, to get her property rented out for it to happen later on. But she missed a lot of time with her daughter during that craziness, and I guess she didn't realize or thought her ex-husband. I'm not sure what the situation was, but I look back at it. And, matter of fact, we went to lunch I think 4 or 5 months ago. We went to lunch, and but thinking about it, it's really gut wrenching. But I can laugh now a little bit. Still kind of makes me sad. But there's also been there was a transaction. I'm not going to talk about that one.
Now you got to. Yeah. Come on now. It's that good? You got to talk about it now.
I'll talk to you about it off camera.
We don't have to mention names, or you think that the person might be listening?
They're going to listen. They're going to listen because they follow me, they comment, we talk often, and they're going to be like, you're talking about me. I'll just talk to you about it after.
So it was this story about, was the client someone you kind of knew as a friend already? No. It was
friends now.
Friends now.
But at the time, I'm like, freaking idiot. Yeah. So I just had a client purchase a car.
Oh, okay.
After you sign my agreement that says you will not do this, you will not do this, you will not do this. When I first started real estate, I went on Google and found all the things you shouldn't do when buying a house, right? And then I started asking my broker at the time, my boutique brokerage, and he was like, he's like, well, don't do this. And so I added, and I would make my client sign it, like, sign this. You're not going to do it. Let me explain what all this means. Crazy person.
You can find that now on ChatGPT. Just type in, give me 10 of the biggest things that people should not do while they're in the loan process.
So I've critiqued it since then. It's very
and it'll actually create a nice email for you to send out.
Yeah,
it takes you 30 seconds.
Really?
You cut and paste.
I like my version. Hey.
Yeah, I mean, because and I'm sure you found it. There's many times you're in the evening and you are saving marriages. Mm-hmm. You are counseling people, through it. Just, you're doing what you're giving them advice of what and your wholeheartedness feels is the right advice so that they can make a decision. And it's not coming back on you. You're just exposing the obvious to them. Right. And I think, one of the things with the whole buyer broker agreement, the whole, well, I shouldn't say that, but the whole NAR lawsuit and all that stuff really devalued real estate agents. And in any industry, there are used car salespersons, to use that analogy. Mm-hmm. There are agents in our experience. The consumer just needs to spend a little bit more time researching, finding a podcast where top an agent on and listen and learn who they are, or, interview a few people and ask them a question. I think a lot of us, whether it's interviewing for a transaction coordinator or interviewing for a real estate agent, they don't really know what to ask. Mm-hmm. Now, going back to AI, I guarantee you, I have never done it, but I guarantee you in there, if I went in there and said, give me 10 questions, if I'm interviewing real estate agents, mm-hmm. that I should be asking them do, and it'll give you 10. Maybe you take 4 out of there that you think are worthwhile. You don't really care about the others. But if you don't know, this is the age that we're getting to. And I really think, it was like 74% of the agents didn't even do a deal last year.
Yeah.
I think that's going to trim that. You're going to have 25%. And that's not going to be 25% anymore, because I think more people are going to fall off. So that 25% is going to be more like 50%, but the overall number is smaller, right?
Right.
Because people are going to research, do their due diligence on finding who are the agents that are doing business, who are the agents, whether it's their reviews or whatever. They're going to be a little more astute to finding that right person.
I agree.
Yeah. And so the new agents coming in, not to take anything away from them or discourage them, but it goes on the more importance of what we, like you mentioned before, every agent, you should be out there and try to find yourself a mentor.
Right.
You know?
And also, even outside of a mentor, the most powerful thing you can have is mindset, right? Because your mindset is going to get you there, and it's going to keep you there, and you can find a mentor, and it's people I've talked to. I'm a mentor for a few agents, but the agent has to want to. They have to want to do the work, right?
Yeah.
And so if you think that, I want Edwina Burch to mentor me because I look at her on social media and she has keys and she's cutting ribbon and she's going to teach me how to do that. That is not the path. Like, you have to have grit and determination to go out there and do the damn work. Darn work. Because I'm sorry.
It's a podcast. You say anything. Almost.
Yes. Okay. Perfect. Almost. You have to have it, because without your mindset, you don't have anything.
Yeah. No, I think that's actually brilliant, because we'd like to think the mentor is going to teach us that you need to have a water test on a VA loan.
Yes.
With well water. You got to have the water test. No, that's actually not what the mentor is going to teach you. You should already know that, because you should have studied.
Right.
Or you're smart enough to hire a smart transaction coordinator that covers you on, when going through the file and says, oh, hey, we're going to need this, this, and this.
Right.
So you're doing it. If the mentor is having to teach you the trivial things, because as we talked earlier, every transaction is different.
Right.
Finances of the client, the address, the title, all these things are different every situation. The repairs that need to be done, all that kind of thing. Yeah, those are just part of doing the business. The mindset, though, is what you really need to get from the mentor.
Yeah. Mindset is the most powerful thing you can have.
Yeah. And I'm sure Melissa, you've pulled stuff out of Melissa and her mindset on why she created, because she's of all the agents in town, she's the most unicorn of them, and how she set up her processes.
Yes.
She knew she was the money maker.
Yep.
She made it rain. She needed people around to pick up the money.
Yep.
And that's my opinion.
Yep, absolutely.
My analogy of that.
That's amazing.
All right, so we got love, we got laughter, consistency. What would you think now that you're really out, you're really picking up pace, 16 million in a year? I mean, you're down to 1% of the agents in the area. What do you think this might have been something you've been doing from the very beginning, or something you've evolved, but that you're doing consistently now, that you make sure you're doing, whether it's every day, every week, or every month, whatever the thing is you're doing, but you believe that is moves the needle for your business?
I think consistency, again, is about mindset. I wake up every morning in gratitude. I don't wake up and say, oh my gosh, this deal may be falling through, or I closed 4 deals last month, I only have 1 deal this month. Consistency and is pivoting, being consistent and changing with the market. Right now, I'm loving on my database. I am loving on my database. So, if I get a lot of my deals through the referrals of the people that I've serviced or off of social media. I don't have any kind of pay leads or anything like that. And so when I notice a shift in the market, I am shifting what I am doing. So the consistency to shift in any given situation and pivot to make your
or just the conversations you're having, right?
Right.
You're loving on your database, so you're calling on them or contacting. What you may be talking about may be different depending on whether it's a buyer or seller market, right? That would be the first thing, hey.
Absolutely.
Or, trying to uncover deals, because you have to kind of create, well, who might be thinking about selling right now, and who do I need to be talking to that's thinking about selling, and what do I need to say to them to convince them that, like, this is the time to do it.
People sometimes they don't think that they can buy.
Right.
I've ran into a lot of that early on in my career. I can't buy. I'm paying rent for $2,400, but I can't buy. I can't afford to buy. Well, why? Like, I don't have credit. I don't have the money. We're gonna fix that.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me find a
Let's
solution.
start that journey today.
Right. We're gonna fix that, and you're gonna have a house, and I'm gonna give you the keys in 1 year from now. Do you trust me? All right, let's do it.
Yeah.
You know, when I get them, and then 1 year from now or less, I'm handing them keys, and then they're telling. When you see a good movie, what do? Tell all your friends about it. So if I provide that good service, I want to be that movie that they tell everyone about.
You know, that just reminds me of a couple of guests I've had on, and this year, Danielle Otone and Jessica Mendez, and they're deep into the Hispanic market.
Okay.
And a lot of them, aren't. They handle their money a little differently. It's the culture of that. And right now today they're not, but those two ladies have built and become the great. I think it was Daniela told me in the last 12 months she's done like 82 transactions or something.
Wow,
you don't get to that level without nurturing those people that you're talking about. Yeah. Hey, you are eligible. Okay, well, all right. Well, you're not right at the moment, but this is what we need to do. And now you're reaching out and pulling someone up.
Right.
And now they are, they're committed to you.
Right. Absolutely.
Because you're pouring into them.
And I never look at, and one thing I've learned is everybody can buy a house, in my opinion, because I haven't ran across anybody that can't. And I know that in this world, there are people who absolutely can't, but I think that with true grit and determination, they can. So no transaction for me is too small. And I'm going to give you a small story. It was a lady of mine that was referred to me. She wanted to purchase a home. She could not. And so I put her in a program to where, listen, 8 months from now, we're going to start home looking, and I'm going to keep checking on you. And in the meantime, she referred her uncle to me, who then had me list his house that was like, I don't know, $300,000. But then he referred a $3.4 million listing to me.
Wow.
And from that $3.4 million listing, I got a $600,000 listing in Oakleaf. I got a $1.1 million deal from that. And so it's like, you never look at people and say, I can't help you. Everyone, for me, I'm like, everyone has the ability to, again, until I'm shown different. Hey, you want to buy a house? You don't have a job?
Well,
let's get you a job.
you expose something that I often say. You don't know what's under every rock.
Right.
And that person who you're talking to, who may not be able to purchase, but you're kind of pouring into them, you're encouraging, you're helping them, trying to find that path. You don't know if that person is the best friend and grew up with the CEO of Gate Gasoline.
Yes.
You just don't know.
Right.
And that person goes and says, hey, Edwina, help me get here, purchase this home. We worked on it for a year. She helped me get my credit scored away, my income, whatever it was.
Right.
And then that person just has that feeling like, wow, she sounds like a great person. I want her to sell my house because I'm going to reward her for being great, for helping out my friend.
Yeah.
You just don't know what's under the next rock.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I have that same mentality with whether you're a $1 million buyer or you're buying a house for $50,000. My processes do not change. So
how has it changed your life a little bit? I think you mentioned you're single mom, right? You got but obviously making the wage you were making at the school, and all of a sudden you make that in 1 month.
Yeah.
So we know you're well beyond that. So how has that changed you and your kids? I guess lifestyle. Yep. Now you've been in real estate.
We've always had a pretty good lifestyle, family trips out the country, things like that. Now it's just I'm not. I don't know.
Well, I would imagine on a school salary, you're balancing your checkbook.
Well, I was married. I just recently got a divorce. So
Okay, all right.
I was balancing my checkbook on a school salary. But my husband at the time made over six figures.
Oh,
So
okay, all right. So you're all right.
Yeah, we were okay, and we always lived not beyond. We always lived below our means at the time. We always lived below our means, and so we took family trips out the country. We would fly different places, but I wasn't. I was looking. I'm like, okay, we were budgeting. There we go. I was budgeting more back then, and here I don't. I budget.
You don't stress about it.
Yeah, I don't look at it too much and say, oh, well, we can't, do this or do that. And, I bought my son a car, F-150 cash. Back then, I probably would have gotten him something smaller and, probably financed it. So it has changed a little bit. It can change a lot more, but I just haven't, allowed it to change me.
We'll have to come back for the update show.
Yeah, ask me in 2 more years and I buy a mansion.
Well, here's one I think is the throw out there to be on the subject of the kids a little bit.
Yeah.
Because how many kids do you have now?
3.
You have 3 kids.
Yeah.
One's old enough to drive.
Yeah, he's actually going to college in 2 months. I'm so excited. I can't wait till my grocery bill goes down.
And I know there is a lot of there's a lot of single mom agents out there.
Yeah.
I've met a lot of them, and a lot of them are just awesome. Yeah. I mean, real estate agents. Being a full-time mom and top producing agent isn't easy. What systems or routines have helped you balance both?
Nothing's balanced.
Good answer.
My life's a shit show. So I all of my kids are active. I have my oldest son he's tracks ranked number 15 in the state, and he has a football scholarship to play at St. Thomas University in Miami. My youngest son, he's my middle child. That's Satan's tater tot. I don't know where he came from. He plays football and he runs track, and my daughter does track and she does gymnastics. So I try to be at everything when I can. I've missed birthdays, I've missed events, I've missed recitals, I've missed award ceremonies, I've missed a lot. But the things that I can be at, I am present, and I try to be fully focused. What I love about social media is that my clients know that my kids play football, right? So on Friday, I'll get text messages. Hey, can you look into this before you walk in the game? I know the game's about to start. And I just love that because it's like they're aware of me. They follow me on social media, and they're like, I hear a lot of agents say, I love that you pour so much time into with your kids. But what people don't see is the times that I miss, the birthdays that I miss, not being able to go to a birthday party because I'm out showing houses. And so, yeah. But I love my babies. My oldest son he leaves in 2 months. I'm so excited. You don't know how, do you have kids?
Yeah.
How?
15 and 12.
Oh, your grocery, are they boys?
No, my son's 15 and my daughter's 12.
Okay, so your grocery bill's kind of there. My son eats like 4 grown men. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I just bought milk 2 hours ago. Why is it gone? Yeah. And so I'm excited to not go to the grocery store every other day.
He's got to go get his own now.
Yeah, they're going to feed you now.
Yeah, they're going to feed you now, right?
Right.
Yeah. I want to just touch on it, close up with go back to kind of the mindset for the agents that might be listening. You've mentioned that you're good at building the relationships. People resonate with you, they bond with you. Whatever the energy is going there. Yeah. They like you, basically, is what it comes down to. In conclusion, what's your mindset especially when you're going you're meeting with a buyer you don't know, or a seller you don't know, but what are some of the things that do you go through, or maybe you've built into a routine that you make sure you cover, at least to get started, kind of like the podcast here. I have a couple questions always to get the show started, and then it will take off from wherever it's going to go. Yeah. But what is your mindset when you go into a buyer's consultation or listing consultation? Because I assume you don't know this person. Your first goal is, I want them to like me. Yeah. What do you do?
I have a mentality that everybody likes me.
So already forwarding that,
I'm projecting that.
Projecting that.
You've seen your, what's his name?
Ryan Serhant?
No, not Ryan.
Tom?
Tom. When Tom came in, his expression was like, oh my gosh, I know I go in with confidence that they're going to have a problem and I'm going to solve it. Whether that's, hey, I need to find a house. That's a problem I need to solve. I need to sell a house. That's a problem I need to solve. And then I dive into the smaller things to get that done. So my mind frame is every meeting that I'm going into, they're going to have a problem that I need to solve. And as long as I project my true self on them, and my mentality is always, they're going to love me. They're gonna love me. I'm so bad at it. When I go to my listing appointments, I leave my lockbox and I say, hey, I know you're interviewing other agents. I'm gonna leave this here. Let me show you how it works. And I talk to them about the security of it. But if I don't get it, let me know and I'll just drive 45 minutes back to pick it up, okay?
I love it.
Yeah. And then they have to make that god awful call. Nobody has ever called me to pick up my lockbox, so that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Oh boy, if they do.
Well, when you were explaining that, the thing that started to go into my head was assume the sale.
For sure.
Assume they're going to like you. Assume you're because you are going in there. You're confident in your knowledge of what's going on. You're prepared. You're going in there, which a lot of agents are. You spend a lot of time preparing. If you're listening and you're not preparing yourself to go to a listing agreement, then you don't expect to win it.
Right.
But if you're prepared, you actually are. It's kind of like that thing where people say, "Oh yeah, I mean, the first thing is just pick up your phone." It's like, "Oh, that's all I need to do is pick up my phone." Well, you're like, "Yeah, you're already 90% in the door just because you pick up your phone."
Right.
I mean, that's easy.
Yeah.
Being prepared for a listing appointment.
Yeah.
That should be easy, right?
Yeah.
Because as Tom likes to use, the answers to the quiz.
There you go.
You have the answers to the quiz, so why are you afraid to take the quiz?
Right.
You know?
Right.
But I like it, that it goes back to the mindset term. The agents that are listening, going in and projecting that you're their agent.
Yeah.
Because you're good at it. You're going to deliver on them. And the reality is, I think people get nervous because they don't know what's behind the curtain.
Right.
But that's every deal.
That's every deal. That's life itself. And I go in there and when I'm talking to them, I'm like, and when we list, this is what it's going to look like. And let me show you our team that we're going to be working with. It's not, oh, I know you're interviewing 6 agents, but if you choose me and this is what we will do, this is what I can do. No, this is what's going to happen. And I'm going to list your house and I'm going to sell it. Because if I list it, it's going to sell. Here's my lockbox. Let me show you how it works. Let me show you why I use it. And
How do you handle the situations where you do go over to somebody's houses? You're meeting them for the first time, like a listing agreement, that you need to have some hard conversations with them, like, we need to clean this up.
Oh my gosh, those are the worst. Or the smell. And I'm saying, listen, I need all of this stuff gone because when somebody comes to your house, they want to see it as their own. I have a cleaning company that I can recommend. I can have them over here in 24 hours. But these are all the things that I need up. Oh my gosh, I love all your playpens and all your toys. But we don't want anybody to think that don't have kids. Or maybe they can't have kids. It may be an emotional trigger for them. Not saying that it is, but if that's
it's clutter.
It's cluttered. I had a playroom, but it wasn't clutter. And when you got to kick the stuff over and move it over, I always tell them, I need your house empty. If it's really bad, I need your house empty because I need people to walk in and view themselves as living here. We can't do that with every wall covered and all the,
Yeah.
And so, and then I don't think I've ever told a customer their house stinks. I just brought over air fresheners and carpet deodorizers and things like that.
But I mean, in today's market, and from what I understand from a lot of agents, more buyers, they want turnkey.
Yes,
you might get lucky. You find a buyer who's sees an opportunity to fix up a house or something, but those are far few. Most of these,
they want turnkey.
They want turnkey. They want everything to work. They don't want to worry about appliances, the warranty. That's why new construction is hot, especially for first-time home buyers, because a lot of these kids don't even know what a hot water heater is.
Right.
They don't realize where the water comes from.
Right. Exactly. They don't. They don't.
No.
that works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. We covered the listing. All right.
Uh-oh.
Where do you see? This is my last question.
Okay.
This is my last.
You said that last
It
time.
might be a two-parter, but
okay.
Where do you see the greatest opportunities for agents in Jacksonville today?
Okay, that's a broad question. Narrow it down for me. What do you mean?
Are there niches or underserved markets that you're tapping into?
Okay. No, I don't have a niche. I have. I think that in Jacksonville, because of it's Jacksonville, I mean, new construction is a hot spot right now. But for me, and I can only kind of speak for me, I don't have a niche. I closed the deal in Orlando 2 weeks ago. I'll go to Yulee. I'll go wherever my buyer is going as long as I have the capacity to do so.
Right.
So I don't focus on first-time home buyers.
It's kind of like that question, what's your why? I hate when people ask that question because it's like,
Yeah.
my why is to survive. What do you mean by
what do you
why?
mean?
People
I'm
think
doing
you
this
have to
for fun.
drill down, like you do
Yeah.
have to have a niche. Although, it's situations there are, if you wanted to focus on a certain neighborhood,
Yeah.
Hey, I want to farm this area of town because I want to be the
Can't
expert.
put me in a box.
There's some people that works really well.
They do that.
You know,
Yeah, but for me,
right now your business, you're getting enough business. You're occupied.
Right.
If you started to slow down or hire more people so you had more time, maybe you could start to think of, all right, hey, I want to really focus on this area of town.
Right.
And these.
Because you have
and
agents that only focus on Nocatee, and you have agents that only focus on these 2 zip codes.
Right.
When I started thinking of that, because that's the first thing they teach you, focus on your niche, focus on it, and I'm like, no, I don't want to be put in a box and say I can only do.
Well,
this.
I think that works if you don't have business already.
Okay.
You're busy. If you're like, hey,
that makes sense.
I don't, like you walked in the office and you like the only people you knew were other teachers, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of that was your focus initially,
I see
subtly,
what you're saying. Yeah.
subtly.
Yeah.
So.
That makes sense.
If you're an agent out there and like, hey, I'm getting my business started, well, how do I want to? Okay, I want to focus on these 3 neighborhoods, and I'm going to own those 3 neighborhoods. You'll eventually get business out of those because you'll be seen as the expert.
Yes.
In that area.
In that area, yes. I see what you mean.
Anything you like to add here to our?
For any agents that are listening, be persistent and consistent. You will have to pivot, and that is where you will see the success in your business. Sellers, you hire us because we are the experts. Same with buyers. So let us do our job.
It really does mind boggle me again. But I think this has been going on for why people try to sell their house themselves or go out just randomly and think that the person who's listing that house is really looking out for them, especially in new construction, right?
Yeah.
I apologize about
It's
that.
okay.
Why is that? Only my wife has the ability to override that. Why is that not? Well, of course it took off. It took off the camera. My bad. Hold on a second.
It's okay.
Shut the show here. Hold on a
It's okay.
second. That would not let me put the do not disturb. The higher the iPhone, the more difficulty on there. Hold on a second. Here we go.
I got a text message. This is okay. I got to share this.
Okay.
So I started working with it's a gentleman, and I think he's 20. He has a girlfriend. She's pregnant. They're expecting their baby in November, and he was looking to rent a home, right? And so my phone was on Do Not Disturb, and then I'm reading over the messages. He just sent me this. He said, "Good morning. I submitted everything to the lender last night. I'm supposed to talk to the loan officer later today. I wanted to say thank you. I'm beyond grateful to start this journey with you, and I can't wait to close. Thank you for believing in me."
Yeah.
This is why I love what I do.
Yeah.
Like, you can pay $2,500 for rent. No, you can get a house.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I appreciate you coming on today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
It was a good show, and obviously I take every show as almost like a personal development, learning from different people, and hopefully some agents here, whether they got a tip or got inspired, but I think I'm writing down what the title, persistent and consistent, might be the title. Mindset is another word,
Mindset. I like
because
mindset.
I really think we drove mindset, because I think that is a lot of what you've narrowed your business down, and having that
100%.
mindset, walking in and talking to people, that sort of thing. So